Let's talk about your top 10 cards that we're going to be seeing out of Chaos Origins. Now make sure you guys smash the link crap out of that Sacred Beast button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. You know, I think Sacred Beast is one of the coolest archetypes that we're going to be seeing popping up in the upcoming set, just because it gives you a lot of cool access to do some very different things. You're able to basically do Thunder Dragon Colossus on like an end board, which is already kind of stupid enough as it sounds. But the fact that, you know, you're able to kind of go through and do all of this extra stuff on top of this is pretty crazy. Also, Card of the Soul being a starter for the deck is hilarious, in my opinion. They really looked at this deck and said, what if we just give you every possible good starter that we can actually just kind of jam-pack into a deck? And Konami said, yeah, we can do that for you. And that's exactly what you kind of get when you look at Sacred Beast here. So I am very excited just to kind of see how this deck is going to come together in the very early stages of its development and where people are going to, you know, innovate it. Which brings us to Alistair. So the pure invoked deck is now on the table. And I gotta tell you guys, I'm massively excited just to get the chance to play this, because you actually can play 6 Alistairs within the deck, which is something that we have requested for a long time. We wanted to be able to actually like have an actual Alistair the Invoker deck that's, you know, semi-workable within the space, and we're finally getting that. We're finally getting the ability to be able to make this idea a dream. And also, you know, your new hyper-invoked boss monster, it's kind of a dirty little card. Being able to do some pretty massive things with that card is actually, you know, really, really interesting. But outside of that, I mean, it's how much invoked can we jam-pack into one strategy, and how much is that payoff going to be with that strategy? And I think it's looking pretty decently well. We have Phantom Knights. Konami actually said, hey, we know you guys really like Phantom Knights, so what if we make a TCG exclusive just to make Phantom Knights playable? And they literally did just that. They created, I think, Levier at Home, giving you the ability to loop back one of your trap cards with the Shamanite, which is really, really interesting for a design space. Konami, actually, you got me on that one. I didn't think you had the design space or the want to do this, but it looks like we're now in an era where Konami wants to power up archetypes and give them TCG exclusives now that are more generic to be able to do things. And honestly, I'm very welcoming of this. This was something that we've been requesting for ages. And it's just now that we are getting into the mindset of providing us the tools to be able to do this. So that's a W for sure. And then we have June Pride. Holy crap, man. Elfnotes is about to go crazy. I am personally excited for this one, because this is one of the few times where we get to see how everything is going to come together for, you know, this deck. And honestly, being able to split apart into 3 individual pieces to punish the opponent is going to be pretty broken. I am a little bit surprised that it took them this long to be able to come up with something like this, but alright, Konami, you get a pass from me because Elfnotes deserves the uptick on things, but also at the same time, you know, given the current situation that Elfnote is in within the meta, I mean, we need something. I do hope that this does push this deck to a higher ground and actually tries to give them a little bit more consistency, at least for the way that their deck plays. And then we have Phara. Phara is going to go great in Sacred Beast, man. And the reason why I say that is being able to give your field spell protection is one of the nastiest and dirtiest things that you shouldn't be allowed to do in Modern Era Yu-Gi-Oh! But for some reason, Konami said, nah, being able to have your field spell be protected and be able to resolve it as many times as you want is literally what it was made for. And then also, you know, if you kick it to the graveyard, it can special summon itself. And then you can, you know, when it comes back from the graveyard, take control of something on the opponent's field, which is just so hilarious. When they designed these cards, they did as much craziness as they possibly could to try to ramp these things up. And Phara, being one of the most generic cards within this set, definitely lives up to the hype that, you know, you could want to see from a card. So I think Phara and Sacred Beast is going to be a combination that people aren't really ready for. And then we have Zenna no Tsukunehime. This is the new Link 5. The fact that we don't have the crazy card that goes with this yet, the overlay on top of it, for now it's just going to be a Foolish Burial. So the thing is, this card's a facilitator of FTKs in Japan because they can drop the Lyrilisk monster, and then they can Starving Venom, do the nasty with it, but we don't have access to doing those fun lines well, we don't have access to the Starving Venom, and I don't think we're going to have access to it, but Zenna gives you the ability to Foolish Burial from the extra deck if you use all things on field. If not, it Foolish Burials from the deck. You know, I never would have guessed Laval Chain's card design in the year 2026 would have ended up being broken. Come on, guys. We know gosh darn well that this was always going to be a broken card design. It was always going to work out to be that case. Alright, we've learned. Alright, now we have Blitzclick. I like to call this deck Flunderies at home. And I don't mean to, you know, insult the Flunder players, but I mean, the way that the deck plays, like, you need, like, your starters to line up. You really need all of the bits and pieces to really shine for this deck to be able to get the maximum results. And I say that because, like, if you get ashed in, like, the wrong place, your entire deck just falls on the floor and goes, oh, what do I do? But I think the way that Blitzclick is able to, on the high roll, clean up a lot of very good cards and a lot of, honestly, very broken interactions, I think is what really makes this out to be a very, very fun archetype. Also, you know, Thunder King Ryo is going to finally get some love with this, which we already know is going to be very, very, very fun. And then we have the Corrupted Ritual Records, or what, Ragged Ritual Records is the official English name. I think this card is one of my favorite cards into this set as a whole, because you can reveal any ritual spell in your deck to add a monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. The fact that we can combine this with the ritual spell that lists all of the Mitsurugi monsters, yes, we know that this card works with Mitsurugi, but it also works with Mind Shuffle. And I think the fact that they decided to make a card like the Ragged Ritual Records that gives you access into, you know, pulling these multiple different options, I think is actually very, very nice. So here's to actually hoping that, you know, on a generic scale, that people will be able to enjoy this card. Because honestly, I think it's interactions like this that seem to be the most worthwhile to explore. And then, of course, we have Mind Shuffle. If there's a deck in this set that is going to be scary, it's going to be the fact that Mind Shuffle is going to be a very real competitor, where you're able to rotate your ritual monsters constantly. You're able to dodge underneath, you know, card effects that are going to target because, you know, oops, there went your target back to your hand. It is an incredibly powerful tool that they're giving these decks, you know, access to these powerhouse cards. And honestly, I think it's going to be something to actually see, you know, how much, you know, we will be able to work with this. I mean, that's the truth of the matter, right? When we're looking at, you know, new decks, you know, decks have to be able to have a good level of consistency. And this is honestly, I think, the first Yugi deck that we've seen in the game's history where it's just, wow, that is consistent. You know what I mean? And they've done a great job at really pulling out all the stops for this. And then we have Pot of Sloth. The reason why I'm leaving Pot of Sloth on here is because this card's going to be really dirty in side decks. It's going to be able to find a lot of key solution cards, and it's going to be able to really just ruin people's days. And I know that's something that people don't want to hear, but I mean, like, the side deck is a very important part of this game. And the fact that, you know, we now have part of the side deck coming into play to, you know, find you more additional cards, yeah. Pot of Sloth is going to be very important as a facilitator of things. But there's a lot of good meta warping cards in this set, and I'm honestly super excited to see where they're going to go. So, what do you think about Chaos Origins? Please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back in the day, guys. Patrons! Thank you!
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.